Welcome to Interview Connections. We're the first ever podcast booking agency. I'm Jessica Rhodes, the founder. And 12 years ago in 2013, I started booking my dad as a guest on podcasts because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And fast forward to today, we're a multi-seven-figure agency. We've worked with over 800 clients. We've booked more than 30,000 podcast interviews. And this podcast is all of our top lessons from the last 12 years, booking entrepreneurs on podcasts, scaling our company to be multi-seven figures a year, distilled down into bite-sized topics and episodes to help you learn from us. I co-host this show with Interview Connections co-owner and CEO, Margie. And without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. In today's episode, I am sharing with you a recording of a conversation I had with our client, Karen McNenny, who is known as the Good Divorce Coach. And her podcast guesting story is amazing. She actually got a book deal after 30 podcast appearances. So this is an inspirational story. You do not want to miss it. Enjoy today's episode. Karen, introduce yourself to our audience here and tell us about your experience podcast guesting.
Oh, thank you, Jessica. That's such a generous introduction. And hello, everyone. You are in good hands. I'm going to just take you through some stepping stones that I've had with Interview Connections. And I might get a little verklempt because it's been really meaningful. I started watching Jessica and Margie pre-COVID. So, I mean, maybe 8 years ago. Your business is how old now, Jessica?
12.
Yeah. So in the early years when you were just little baby business
Little
women
chicken
with
nugget.
this idea, yep. And then you talk about your, your story of how it grew out of need and whatnot. And I always thought, oh, someday I'm going to work with him, but I don't have anything to say yet. I don't know what I want to broadcast. And sometimes that's how the universe shows up. It's just one stepping stone. And it was the pandemic for me that created the all-powerful pause that many of us experienced. And I had been working as a business consultant for now 25 years. And people were inviting me, be on a podcast, write a leadership book. And I just like, that just doesn't feel like my core authentic reason that I'm here. And all the conferencing and retreats and business things that I was doing pre-COVID got really quiet. And during that quiet, I was able to turn my attention back to this subject that I'm really passionate about, which is how we do divorce in this country. As I sit here in America, and I'm a Montana girl in the Western Rockies, and I'm 15 years post-divorce. My husband and I, Michael, just took our kids from kindergarten to college, and exactly 6 days ago, we graduated our youngest. And we have been side by side for every important moment with those kids, every family photo. We're all there. We always say we take up the whole pew. We take up a whole row. It's the grandparents, it's the new partners. And I'm really proud of our divorce. Not proud that our marriage came to divorce. Nobody plans that, but the way that we found our path. And I've had so many opinions about divorce for so long. And one of those lonely pandemic nights, I'm just Googling up. Someone was asking me to help guide in their divorce because they saw our family as a really great model. And cutting to the chase, I found out that divorce coaching was a growing industry, a growing niche, but still really quiet. In fact, I was just presenting at a conference yesterday, and it's in my bio, and it was a conference for behavioral health professionals. They're like, divorce coaching, what's that? So I really had two jobs in terms of what I needed to amplify. I needed to amplify, here's my services, please work with me. But even before that, I needed to educate the public as to what it is that I do and why it matters. And that's really been the benefit. So as I came out of pandemic and I was hanging my shingle as a divorce coach, I was actually approached to start a podcast, a business podcast. And it was kind of that zeitgeist moment when I said, I don't want to do a podcast about leadership and workplace culture and employees. I love all that. It's important. But what I'd really like is to have a podcast about divorce. And can we call it the Good Divorce Show? Because nobody ever hears those two words together. And I want to have human people who've experienced divorce on the show, and not the ones with the dumpster fire stories. We hear enough of that. All the negativity is what gets broadcast. And so as a culture, I think we've drunk the Kool-Aid of that's divorce is going to be detrimental and full of despair and a dumpster fire and lots of debt. And I'm like, no, there's at least one more option on the multiple choice. And so couples come on, individuals, adult children of divorce, to talk about what went well for them, how they did it. So we have an example of what it sounds and looks like. And then I have experts on the show. So as that was getting rolling, and it was about a year and a half into my own podcast, then, and I'm still over there keeping a tabs on Interview Connections, and something popped up and I'm like, I think I might be ready. And it's a significant investment, not for everybody, but it was for me as a single self-employed mom in Western Montana. I'm like, I need to find a way to leverage this, because when I'm in the hosting seat of my own podcast, it's about my guest. And they're talking about their programs and they're talking about what they do. But I wanted a microphone and a platform where I could talk about my passions and the work I'm doing and the services that I'm providing. So I needed to get my hiney in the guest seat. And I did not have enough extra bandwidth to go figure that out. And I hired an assistant. But again, her focus and her time was one thing. And I always say, for all of us solo entrepreneurs, when we approach things, I think, well, I've got a hammer and nails and I can figure it out. But wouldn't it be nice to hire someone who has power tools and a blueprint? And that's exactly what Interview Connections has. They are power tools and a blueprint. And from the word go, they were on it. There has been, I just finished my, and I don't even know if it was a full year, Jessica, but I just finished my 30 interviews. And over the course of, we'll call it a year, there's been a couple of occasions when I've had to say, oh, can you guys please tap the brakes? I'm a little overwhelmed. I've got too many interviews coming in right now. I'm hosting my own show. I've got clients that I'm trying to serve. I need a pause over the holidays. I need a pause as we come into spring. And they were always, of course, very accommodating to that. One of the things that I appreciate about the team is that it's not just one person who's finding me all of those points of contact with podcasts. I have my point person, but I have access to the whole team who's working for me. That's been my impression.
Yeah.
And so there's everyone out there cultivating. And I didn't even realize there were so many podcasts about divorce. But again, because I'm in that guest seat, what I find over and over again, those hosts, some of them lawyers, some of them mental health professionals, folks inside the divorce industry, outside of the divorce industry, more in self-help, I keep hearing like, oh my gosh, Karen, what you do is so unique. This is so different. What a paradigm shift. What I'm really trying to identify is divorce is not a weapon. It's a tool. And as a culture, we have to stop weaponizing it and provide education in this tool and give people another choice. So I'm able to amplify that all over. And yes, I have had clients, I have an intake sheet on my website, The Good Divorce Coach, and Work with Karen. And then I ask always, where did you hear about me? And it's not just a podcast. Sometimes I get that, but they name the podcast. And I can track all of those podcasts. And of those 30, I know directly 12 of those clients came from my work, not to mention those that I'm not tracking, or those that haven't chosen to work with me yet, because they might be like many of us who've walked the divorce journey, kind of exploring, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna start packing my psychic parachute. I don't want to get divorced, right? We know this truth. So again, podcasting is evergreen. So there's great value in that messaging that's going to exist out there. But now for the finale. Are you ready for, that's already amazing and great. It's worked. But then last summer, I get an email out of the blue from a man named Andy Earl. Karen, I heard you on such and such podcast. You have a strong voice, great storytelling, really unique perspective. Have you ever thought of writing a book? Is this spam? Is this a real thing? And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, for 15 years since I was leaning into my own divorce, I'm like, I have just so much to say about this topic. And maybe someday there will be a book that will come from it. So there was an invitation from an organization called Write It Great, who helps thought leaders like us um, put their thoughts between pages to get a book proposal together, which is a whole nother undertaking. But because I engaged with Interview Connections and they got me out on the speaking circuit of promotions or of podcasts, then this person who helps folks like us take the next step to being a published author found me. And I did hire that company. And last September, I started the process of writing a book proposal. And by November, I had a book proposal. And then they went out and shopped it. And I was waiting for, 2 years and 27 rejections, and you're going to have to rewrite, and you probably got to go write the book. A book proposal's not going to get, none of that happened. By January, I had an offer from a major publisher. And I don't even think I told you this, Jessica.
No, I have chills. I have literal chills right now. Oh
So
my.
Wiley Publishing and their subprint Josie Bass has engaged with me. Really, it's all a domino. I mean, I can point it right back. I now have chills from a decade ago of watching this little baby company and these visionaries and Margie and Jessica saying, we want to help thought leaders have a platform. And so I have a book coming out May of 2026. Thank you. Which we think will be called The Good Enough Divorce, How Leaving My Marriage Saved My Family. And it's part memoir and it's part teaching. And so I'm on pause right now with Interview Connections because I'm going to, and I'm not doing any more interviews on my own podcast right now either. We've just got a bunch of stuff in the vault so that I can take some time this summer and into the fall to get that book pulled together. First draft by September, final draft by November, and book launch, which means that next year, as I am promoting that book, I will be right back in bed with Interview Connection because they will help provide the amplification to drive more traffic. And for me, and maybe this will speak to your heart as well, it's not just about I'm generating work and clients. I only have so much capacity and I limit my caseload because I talk with my clients every single week. It's really important as they're going through this journey that they have constant support and connection. But just as importantly, it's my advocacy part. It's about systemic change in the divorce space. So it's not just about driving traffic for me to have more clients. It's really about amplifying a message that I think as a community we're hungry for, whether you're before, during, or after your own divorce. So there's my story and my big fat monologue about
Oh my
what
God.
this journey has been for me. So thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Margie, Julio, all the team that has been supporting me this last year.
Oh my gosh. Like you guys, I'm not tearing up. It's just allergies. Just kidding. I'm tearing up. That's amazing. That's okay, there's like so much about that story that I'm taking in. So, first I just a funny anecdote because I think the universe has really good sense of humor. So you said the good enough. So you maybe found us in 2017. So in 2017, Margie and I, she was the first employee and we were I guess divorcing our contractors because we had moved from a 1099 contract model where we had all 1099 team members and hiring full-time employees. And it was the most difficult transition. It was probably the most difficult year of business. And our motto that year was good enough 2017
Uh,
because it
yeah.
was so challenging. It was so hard that we just got through it by saying it's good enough 2017. So when you said good enough, I go right back to probably the year that you found us.
Oh,
That's so
wow.
funny. But I love that story. And I love as well how you really manifested this smooth book publishing process. Just like it mirrors how you help people with divorce. Like everyone says, oh, it's going to be multiple years. And you were just like, no, that's not how it's going to be for me. And it wasn't. And that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing.
You Google the good divorce. I see some notes like the good divorce coach, the good divorce show. You just put
Yeah.
those two words together. Karen McNenny's probably gonna to come up for you. And I hope none of you need my services, and I hope you don't have to refer anyone to my services. However, and whether it's me or someone else that is out there coaching and mediating, please, by all means, provide the kind of support and a pathway that doesn't start with an attorney. I always say divorce exists to make things better, not worse. Why would we go spend thousands of dollars and lots of time to just make it worse? If you want it bad, stay in your bad marriage. It'll get worse. If you want it really bad, hire two litigating lawyers and they will be happy to keep you on their payroll and create a lot of battles where there weren't before. So there is a kinder, gentler path through this process. And again, thank you for providing a platform for me to share my passion work and what I hope will be my legacy work before I retire out of all this nonsense.
Oh my goodness. And even like I said, even if you don't need a divorce coach, I would highly recommend listening to one of Karen's podcasts just as an example of a really great interviewee. On session 2, we did a podcast guest media training and we talked about storytelling and tone of voice. Like you really nail it. So I would love for everyone to maybe we could get after you are finished speaking here, Karen, maybe grab a link and put it in the chat to the podcast that you sent me or any of your podcasts, because I think it's very helpful to listen to how other people, especially other people who are in different businesses or different industries, she's a great example of a really great guest. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Wow, I need a minute to process the feelings around that story. That was absolutely incredible.